The 140th edition of the Royce Boys podcast starts right now.
Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been, there ever will be.
Hilltop freehand, King rights the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Dive off the glass. Oklahoma calls timeout. But the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered Marvin. He scores.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good. 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. And how about the Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Royce Boys podcast with your host, Josh Marlowe. Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Royce Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services, and today we got a different show going on for multiple reasons. We are going to focus on breaking down the 2020 recruiting class as a whole. As you all know, this is a lot of talent coming into Chapel Hill, and there's a lot of expectations going in with this class. But with me to break down the class is not my normal co-host, Anthony Pagnotta. It is the newest addition to the Hilltop Blog writing team, Mark Krings. Mark, how's it going today, buddy?
Good, Josh. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. It's been a long week. I can't believe it's only Wednesday. I've been working both jobs, and it feels like it's been a long week. But we're hump way, or we're at hump day, so we're halfway through, ready for the weekend to kind of kick back and relax. Before we get into today's episode, I want to give you a chance to kind of tell the listeners who you are, what you're going to be doing, but most importantly, how you got involved with Carolina basketball and why you love it so much.
Sure. As Josh said, my name is Bart Krings. I've been a Carolina fan my entire life. I would say that it started mainly all the way back to 1993. It'd be the national championship game between Carolina and Michigan. I think we all remember how that ended. It was the Weber timeout game. As a young kid, we all have times that we need to get to bed by, and that was the first basketball game that I was allowed to stay up to and actually watch the end of it. So the ending was obviously awesome, played out in our favor. National championship for Dean Smith, and then from there, Jordan kind of obviously played a large role in it, as I imagine he did for many Carolina fans. And so from there, I've gone to 10-ish Final Fours, and thankfully Carolina's been there quite a few of those, so I've got the opportunity to see them kind of on the biggest stage of college basketball, which is always fun and exciting, and my excitement for them is just continue to grow, especially when you watch them win national championships in person.
That's a great story. I can remember for me being in third grade when we won the title against Illinois in 2005. And didn't get to stay up to watch the game for obvious reasons because my dad was strict and had a bedtime. But I remember getting woken up the next day and being told, hey, son, the Tar Heels won the national championship. Didn't know what it meant. But then I remember in 2009 when we cut down the nets, being able to stay up late and watch the game, what that feeling felt like. And then, from there, just for me individually, I've always been hooked. For all the people that have listened, that's kind of my first story. Mark, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing with us at the Hilltop Blog and with me on the Royce Boys podcast.
Sure. So I'll be doing a lot of the recruiting stories, as Josh mentioned. I wrote the articles that broke down the 6 recruits that make up the loaded class of 2020. And then in addition, I'll be kind of covering some of the offers as they come out. We had the Hunter Sellett's article, the kid from Millard North in Omaha, Nebraska, and then also DeMarco Dunn. And then in addition, I will be covering hopefully what fans find interesting topics. For example, the Rashawn McCants article that was released yesterday from the interview with Kira Luck from SI.com. So anything interesting like that, hopefully we'll have it covered for you. And then in addition, obviously, when we hope we get to the season, Josh and I will be breaking down the games on a game-by-game basis, kind of digging into where the team's at and where we hope they're headed.
Yeah, I know I'm excited to have you along because after writing 30-something game previews and recaps, it does get exhausting, and I think for the readers and our audience, it'll be good to have a different set of opinions, which you've already brought, and I know you'll continue to bring once we get hopefully into season mode. We don't know if we're going to have a season or not with COVID-19, but right now we're going to remain optimistic as it is only June and basketball does not start until November. Well, as you said, the first task you did once you joined our team was to break down this loaded recruiting class that's coming in, and that's the main focus of tonight's podcast, is to kind of take what you put in words and put it in voice form, and let's just break down the class from top to bottom as a whole. And we're going to start with Caleb Love, the 5-star point guard coming out of the Midwest, your area, out of St. Louis, Missouri. And this is a guy that, well, the moment that Carolina got on his radar, it made a lot of sense. There was a good fit there. And it was really a no-brainer when he decided to come play for Roy Williams and at Carolina with the point guard tradition that we've had. We've had in the last year with Kobe White, Cole Anthony, who, depending on who you ask, is a different opinion, but his numbers were really good, and he's going to be a great player at the NBA level. You wrote about him. Give me a player comp for Caleb Love.
Yeah, a player that I think of when I think of Caleb Love is obviously Kobe White. He is a score-first point guard, which I would very much say Kobe White was also. In terms of the other similarities between their games, Kobe White definitely had a different level of getting up and down the floor in Coach Roy Williams' system. And I think that Caleb Love also possesses that speed and that desire to really get up and down and push it, and to attack the basket. You mentioned Cole Anthony. Obviously his numbers were great, and I still think he was a great point guard at North Carolina. But in addition, I think when he pushed it, he didn't really push it to that next level. And he didn't always necessarily push the ball to score and to get to the cup, get fouled, dish. He kind of pushed it up, and then when they got to the three-point line area, they kind of ran some of their sets from there. But definitely Caleb Love brings that next level athleticism and speed to get up and down the floor.
I think you mentioned something about with Love and with White and Anthony. We always talk about Carolina's going to run, and running is who they are, what they want to do, but you got to know when to run and how to run, and that's something that Cole Anthony struggled with last year. Do you think Love is a much better fit than Cole Anthony was? Because I feel like if Cole Anthony would have fit Carolina's system better, maybe Carolina would have won a little bit more when he was on the court. You compared him to Kobe White. Are you expecting him to have the Kobe White impact in his first year? Because that's a lot of expectations, because just how good Kobe White was in his lone season in Chapel Hill.
That'd be a lot of pressure, and I don't know that I'm necessarily ready to commit to that level of Caleb Love. And I say that somewhat because I don't think many of us expected for Kobe to burst onto the scenes as he did. There's no doubt that Kobe came in. We all had high expectations for him, but he took it to another level, and obviously we all know where that got him. So I don't know that I'm ready to commit that Caleb Love is that type of a player yet. Even in high school, his senior year, there was some breakdowns and just some watching of his film that, Caleb Love was more comfortable actually taking shots than setting up his teammates. And I think one thing that's made Kobe so special is he had a very unique blend of creating for himself, but also creating for his teammates. And he had a lot of talent around him. Anytime that you have Cam Johnson around you, he had Kid Williams, that was a pretty well-oiled offensive machine that Kobe got the opportunity to run. So can Caleb Love get there? Yes, I absolutely think that he can. I think that he has all the tools and the ability to do it. But I think that he is still somewhat learning, how do I run a team at the college level, facilitate We've mentioned it before, but with COVID-19 being something that will impact all universities, especially in the basketball season, will be conditioning. And I think that plays into how fast does he get up and down the floor. I think there's a difference between being a well-conditioned basketball player and then being a well-conditioned Roy Williams point guard.
I think you brought up something very good, and when you're trying to compare all these guys, you look at the situation that they inherit. Kobe White inherited a team that had great outside shooting and then was able to still put the ball inside and score. Cole Anthony had a team that didn't have any outside shooters, and at the beginning of the year, Garrison Brooks wasn't the Garrison Brooks that we saw in ACC play. Now, for Caleb Love, he's inheriting a team that's got a dominant big, and there's a lot of talent on the perimeter, but they still got to put the ball in the basket, which is why it's so hard to speculate at what kind of year he's going to have. But nonetheless, the expectation is it always is high in Chapel Hill for Carolina basketball in general, and it's high for great point guard production no matter who it is running the team. So there's going to be a lot of excitement, but also a lot of pressure for a young Caleb Love. We'll move on to R.J. Davis, a 4-star combo guard, 5'11" from White Plains, New York. And first off, just give me a player comp you got from him, because I think there's a couple things in this situation that's going to play into the kind of success he has his freshman season in Chapel Hill.
He's a flat out. He scores a lot. He absolutely has the ability to score at will through multiple different levels. He brings getting to the bucket, finishing at the rim, shooting the three. I would say that he plays a little bit of a similar role to Joel Berry when he played off the ball, when it was Joel and Marcus running the show. We all appreciate how that ended up working out for us as Carolina fans.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a unique comparison. One of the things that I really got worried about when Jeremiah Francis was announcing his decision to transfer was Roy Williams going to have to move him to playing the point guard role? Do you feel comfortable if we get in a situation like we were last year where injuries show up again, if he's got to play point guard, he can thrive as a backup point guard for Carolina?
He can. He's capable of it. There's no doubt about it. He's quick. He's fast. He has and possesses what Carolina looks for traits in their point guard. But, not to necessarily transition back to Caleb Love. That's why I think you cannot over-exaggerate the importance that Caleb Love is to not only this class, but to the team for the upcoming season. Certainly we have a lot of depth. We have a lot of versatility, especially on the perimeter. We have some other players that will be going over. But I think that R.J. Davis specifically very much plays more of an important role for the team off of the ball, and using his ability to get to the rim, his ability to score, and his ability to just be aggressive. That's what he does best. The other thing that I would add to that is, if when you look at the wing position a little bit, I think R.J. Davis could compete for the starting spot at the 2. And if he does not get it, it may be Anthony Harris. So if you're looking at Anthony Harris and Leaky Black, do those two, they very much bring a lot to Carolina in terms of talent and what they have to offer, but they don't necessarily bring a lot of scoring options. And that's where I think R.J. Davis can play a unique role there.
Yeah, that's something I haven't thought about in the back of my head, is that if he shines in preseason, and then also if they do leading up to the season, there's a good chance for him to maybe eventually be a starter. I think, when the season starts, you're going to see a more veteran guy in the backcourt because that's just the way Roy Williams wants to start the season. But he's also not afraid to play the better player. And if at some point R.J. Davis is the right guy to be the guy on the floor for 28 to 30 minutes a night, he definitely will be. And when's the last time Carolina's put 2 freshmen in the backcourt? You're probably looking at Ty Lawson and Wayne Ellington. The result ended very great, but it's over a decade since we've kind of seen 2 freshmen in the backcourt be counted on as big contributors. So I think it's very important for him to stay off the ball, but it's also nice knowing, because the injuries, that's possible that they could show up again, that if he has to run the offense, he has the ability to do so, and we're not as hindered as we were last year with guys like KJ Smith at certain times having to initiate the offense. So Let's move on. We'll move inside. Let's talk Walker Kessler, another 5-star big man coming out of Fairborn, Georgia, 6'10", 225 pounds. He has the ability to stretch the floor and shoot the three, can put the ball